All right, so we should be back. I'll tell all the, I don't know, that live ended. We should be back. Jeez. I don't have a stand for it yet. So everybody should be jumping in here. Hopefully everybody catches on what I said, that we're going live. Yeah, you know, I'm watching everybody say there's no sound. There's no live there right now. I gotta figure out a way to send the chat. Send the chat. It's not better, it's I went back to the iPhone. All right, hold on. Let me get this set up so I actually don't have to sit here and hold the phone. And then I will type in the chat to tell everybody that we're over here. Okay, hold it. Sorry everybody for this. Yeah, this was, everything just ran good Wednesday. So I hope we're still flying. Somebody type something because I don't see a chat display on this. They should have been notified. Oh yeah, let's figure out how we do that. Since it wasn't working, let's notify them of that. It was either go live or just spend the time to notify people and take another half hour doing stuff. All right, so I'll go into the chat. I'll say, we restarted live. Okay. Okay. Should be it. And so you guys will just have to tell me, okay. Yeah, so I do not know what's going on because there was a live stream and another program I did Wednesday and the microphone worked. Tonight the microphone was showing, it was picking my voice up, but again, it didn't want to work on YouTube. So I don't really understand what's going on with it. It's kind of bizarre. So yeah, I figured, okay, no problem, because it just worked Wednesday. And here we are 2 days later and everything's set up the same and I've tried everything on the microphone. So we're gonna have to do something this weekend to check and see what it is, why it's not picking it up. And I have a feeling it's on the YouTube end, something that I can't fathom. I don't think Trevor's gonna be able to solve it. So, and I was bugging him about coming up with a new microphone setup, something more direct for me. But we will go with this for the time being, and I will monitor, and anybody that jumps in the other one, chat, I will do that. In fact, I'm going to do this. This is actually maybe even smarter. I'll go to YouTube, and I should be able to see the chat in YouTube, right? We would think so. Okay, so I'll go to my site. Maybe this will be, what a workaround, huh? What a workaround. And going live, there's the old one, here's this one, and this has to be it right here. And that's me there, so I might be able to pick up the chat here. That's me there, so I might be able to but I'm going to have to turn my volume down on the speakers. There we go. Okay, so we're back up to speed. So there, happy Friday again. So yes, and there is no Trevor, okay? So everything worked fine Wednesday, and then today the audio decided to putz out again. And I know everything's working fine because we streamed Wednesday for something else. And then on top of it, I've been working off the system since then, and everything's been operating just fine. So it's weird that I even used this microphone for some recording. So everything was working fine. And when I came in to do live briefly, the other problem is it was showing that it was picking up my voice. So I don't understand. I checked every setting on it. Yeah. So I don't know why it's not doing that. So we'll have to check it. Top of the toolbox to you. So we're at probably our last hot weekend of the year. It's 109 out right now. We should be, I'm going to say, dropping into the low 100s the end of next week. And it probably should stay down in there and just start to slowly go down. We've had some nice mornings, but we're going to get one more last little kind of big middle finger to us this weekend, 110s, 112s, and then start to see it finally tail off. It's been a long, hot summer here. And don't tell me how long in a hot summer, unless you live in Death Valley, it's not been that hot. But this has been a miserable one out here. We got very little rain or moisture whatsoever, so it was really tough. So, and there's McCracken from Ireland. There you go. In fact, that was kind of a funny thing Trevor just brought up. About 2026 going to Ireland. And I asked him some questions, and he was telling me Dublin and some other places. And he said, you might want to go along on this trip. So I don't know. That's kind of far out too. I don't plan that far out, man. I'm lucky I planned a Friday, which I did not plan on doing this today, but Trevor informed me that he didn't have anything set up. There was nothing going, so I was going to have to run out live, which is about 5-6 weeks, 7 weeks straight now. So it's back to just a pretty steady, constant live stream now. We will get at the top there. I don't know if anybody is pre-ordered, but Jack Sanfelice's book at jacksanfelice.com. It should be in the Superstition Mountain Museum and the Goldfield Ghost Town Museums. And you should be able to pick it up. Finding El Dorado. And then the Rendezvous, of course, November 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Guest speakers on the night of the 4th. Anybody that can make it, you're welcome to come out. So we kind of got everything set up for that. So we're kind of whisking away into the fall, into all that, and start getting back out in the mountains. I just talked to Frank yesterday, well, actually yesterday evening. Talked to Frank for an hour or two about some stuff, and we were kind of like starting to say, wow, it's about time we can start getting out. We got a couple trips already planned in the back of our heads. Any new news on the Rendezvous? Yeah, I'll be there Friday. No, nothing else to update. I still haven't heard back from the people that I hadn't heard back from. So I'm hoping to get more confirmations of some of that. But yes, we'll be Rendezvous, guest speakers, Jack Sanfelice, James Simpson. And that'll be on the Saturday night. We'll have the chili. And that's kind of where we're at right now. So as we're setting up, there's some people from out of town. And a number of people talking to us about it. This Wednesday, next Wednesday, if all goes well, Jack Tucker, I can't remember if I don't know if Jack's in here. Didn't see his name. But anyways, he wants me to kind of do his radio show, so I'll jump in there. I always support the other guys too. Jack's a good guy. So might be doing Jack Tucker's show on next Wednesday. And we'll put something out about that if I am. And still waiting on History Channel. They keep messaging me. I heard from Robert Kesselring. I got to get back to him this weekend about some things concerning History Channel and stuff. And he's asking me questions about certain information he doesn't want to maybe publicly release, or something they wanted to utilize for a program. I don't know. So I got to talk to Bob and see how he's doing. The other Bob. Did Shoes ever find the last Gonzales mine he was looking for? Mistaken, but thought he had. No, he found the map he had. This is the one that was in the back of the book. I think it was Hank De Andrea, Ernie. I don't know if Ernie Province was involved in that, but it might have been Basil Zaccardi. I don't know which groups. I know Storm got involved in it somehow too at some point. Anyhow, it was out of Illinois. They found it in the back of a book, and like under the back cover or something, and it's in his edition of Thunder God's Gold. But anyways, there was 8 or 9 mines. He found all of them, was able to locate except the one that's the thatched mine. To best of my knowledge, he's never located that. And And I always wanted to sit down with him with a topo map and have me. I know where 3 or 4 of them are. He's kind of shown me where a few of them are. And Frank and I were going to go out. We were supposed to go out and check those out. And we never did. But he found everything but the thatched mine in that map. And he was never able to locate that one. And he wasn't sure what the thatched one meant, if, you know, if it's the one that still has gold or not, or whatnot. But yeah, we were going to go out. I'm trying to remember when. It was last year. We got tied up with the spiral and all that, but I wanted to take a trip out to that, take Frank back up into Hackberry, and that was the plan. And checking some of those mines out, and it never came to be, especially the one with the shelves in it, the sleeping shelves in it. We're going to check that one out. I know where that one's at. So I wanted to get that and kind of go through that story and some of that, and then maybe we look a little for that thatched mine with whatever information we get from Shoes. Plus, we have a couple other things on the agenda with Shoes, so there should be a lot to do this winter, and we'll see how we format that we haven't decided yet if the format of that is going to be typical like what we've been doing. I talked to Frank about what if we go out and if we do something that takes an hour or two, and we have an hour or two of footage, and we just release those during the year like that, or do we want to do the episode type thing? How do we want to kind of plan it in the future? And we never really came to a consensus of what we wanted to do. Obviously, Trevor has a lot going on his plate at this time too, so this fall, that'll be even more difficult for Trevor, because Trevor's going to have to jump right in, have to edit and put these things together. I would think we'd be looking around Christmas or so. Hopefully we could, with what we want to do, I would hope that we have enough by Christmas or sometime later to do that. And what we want to incorporate it, or how we want to move that stuff forward. So we have, I know, 1, 2, 3 items, 4 items, and then there's possibly, like I'm talking, that other stuff, so that'd be 5th, and then however much footage is from each thing would be how you would break that up, and follow-ups and different things. So, but we'd have to see, or do we take it into January, February, and kind of run all that. That's purely, you know, Frank, Trevor, and all of us, what we kind of decide to do and how we want to do it. So there's that with the Legends stuff. Live stuff, we were going to go through, and I think it's this weekend, Trevor wanted to go through a lot of the stock footage of the archival stuff and see what we haven't released. And I'll be your pack mule, and thank you. But so we wanted to go through this stuff. It's just getting the time to break away and do stuff. Sometimes there's stuff we want to do that we don't think is worth filming and all that, so sometimes there's stuff we do. And there's footage, but it's just kind of like, it's just us messing about trying to come up with stuff. There's been some trips, nothing really, there's no reason to like put it out there. We'd be wasting everybody's time. But we film stuff, and it's also good always because you can put your eyes on it and look at it later. So I don't know, down here there's hard drives behind me here, down lower on this side. Down lower there's a whole stack of hard drives just full of 4K and HD footage, and that's one of the things Trevor said is we got to start going through that. All right, so Dallas wanted to be my pack mule. I live in AJ, looking forward to the Rendezvous suggestion for the t-shirts. Print nope, t-shirts will stay the same just like this. And then on the back it has the big Rendezvous, it has the Weaver's Needle on the Rendezvous shirts. So I can't remember who the guy, I go bad sometimes with names. Someone with me, we went back and forth trying to design these, and then we kind of went back and kind of redid a few things. But we came up with this, thought it looked best. So that was the idea. So I didn't want to be Superman, like Super Rendezvous, but we wanted to do it like that. So we'll probably, during the raffle, have some hats, shirts, coffee cups to kind of give away, and do that during the raffle. I don't know if we'd have enough to sell because we don't usually keep stock. So, but they'll be gray and black or whatever. That's another thing for Trevor is, yeah, so, but they'll be the same shirts because we made the shirt, so you get the shirt, you wear it out, you can always get another shirt. That was the idea. rather than the original shirts where you got one each year that had the year on it. And I thought, well, yeah, but then you wear the shirt and then it's like, it's kind of sucks. So that, we're getting them in long sleeve for the Rendezvous. Cool. Yeah, I don't have any long sleeves. I have all short sleeves. I don't have any gray either. I told Trevor, I said, I only have the black shirts. I do have the tan hats, but I don't have and black hats. I got both of those, but I only have the black shirts. And I don't know. I think Frank might just have. I don't know what Frank asked specifically for something, so who knows what he's got. Helps to take time and not just work. Oh, you're talking at the Rendezvous. Some years it works, some years it don't. It depends. Sometimes it's rougher than other time. Excuse me. Sometimes at the Rendezvous, that's all I do. It seems like I just spin around, and then we're packing up and I'm leaving. And I tell Trevor, I said, I'm glad it's over because it was busier than going to work every day. And I almost feel like I need to go back out. Now, we will be back out in January, February. I don't have the dates for Discovery Camp with the Dons, so I'll be back out for those times. And I'll probably plan during one of the Discovery dates to go out there and spend the weekend or something. I told Trevor I might have to kind of get a little relaxing time out there for that. But that's January, February of next year. Sorry, getting a little dry. And like I said, I ended up working 10, 11 hours today and then having to run in and do this. So sometimes it's a lot. So you don't have to thank me. It's just, it just is what it is. So anyhow, so that's kind of all the news. We got Jack's book and all that stuff. And then, I talked to Shoes, and I hadn't heard back from some people. And like I said, I got to make a call to Kesselring and see how he's doing and what it is he exactly wants. It's so much easier to talk on the phone. I don't think it's just being old-fashioned or traditional of saying, let's just talk on the phone. It's just texting. I'm not quite sure sometimes what exactly someone's asking. I got to go back and forth and then think about it and reread it. And I don't always get things, I just kind of look and then I'm just trying to go, I don't know what that person means by this and whatnot. So we try to accommodate, we try to answer and do those things. If you don't get an answer, always catch us on the live, because definitely Trevor does tell me things and I sit there and I go, oh, okay. And then I just never catch back up because I don't really listen. I play dad at that moment and I just kind of let it buzz through me. And then later he'll say, did you ever get a hold of that guy? And I'm going, what guy? I don't know. So there we go. Okay. The blinds. I thought this was better, but I should have closed the blinds more behind me. And there's David Keith, who was out there. He was just out here and head back to New Orleans. So, yeah. And he did something I always volunteer and say for a lot of people. You're going in. Hey, you can leave it on the website. You can leave it in Legend of the Superstition Mountain, in the chats or whatever, but you can tell me, send the private message and say, hey, we're going in at this time. We're going to be in here. We'll let you guys know if we're out. He did just that. I was able to know when he was going in. I was able to tell that he and his wife safely were able to get out of the mountains and they were heading home and everything. And that's a nice thing. So it's a nice safety protocol if you don't know anybody else. I am someone that has the phone number for the search and rescue, the county sheriff's department, and a number of different people down there that could go out and check things out or look for you and so forth. So he did that, did a nice follow-up on that, and he is safely back home and planning possibly of coming out to the Rendezvous as well. So, like I found some poison ivy or something. Did you get hit by a cholla? Because that's like that. Cholla will do that. The jumping cactuses, if you get pricked by them, they'll give you the spots, make you feel like you got poison ivy and stuff. It'll itch. And sometimes you get it real bad. I got one in my legs really bad. This is years ago with Randy Wright. And so bad in my legs and my one calf, they were so deeply embedded. It was a pain to get them out. I got it all out. But I think it took 3 or 4 months before the itching and the redness went away. They'll get embedded in there, and you know, of course, I couldn't do much. It was a strange thing. We were checking out a mine, and Randy went one way, I went the other. I thought the way I was going was shorter, which it was. Randy found a road, which actually was easier. I went the shortcut, found myself in a complete engulfed in a group of choyas, and there was no place to go, and it was probably about 4 or 5 inches deep in dead choya around my feet. And of course, you start kicking them up, and they start getting up and getting on your legs, and I ended up with them all through my legs everywhere. And I literally just had to suffer it till I got clear of them to start getting them out. And I sat down, and by that time, Randy's above me waiting for me, like, what are you doing? And I finally got them out, but I broke a bunch of them off in my legs, probably a good 30 or 40. And we finished the day, and after we finished, I got home, and then I pulled the rest of them out, but by then, all that stuff had got into my leg. And I think I even showed him, I don't remember when we went out, but it was like months later, I pulled up my pant leg and showed him my calf, and there was red dots all through it, still through it. Still itched a little, but it was still all through it, so that stuff can be nasty. Boom, thanks. And for a short hike, appreciate it. It's no problem. 3 to 4 months. Yeah, that stuff from the cactuses get in, especially you'll have those little red dots. If it's that, you'll sometimes have those red dots from the prickly pears, and not the prickly pears, the choyas. Sometimes those teddy bear choyas, if they get deeply embedded and you don't get them out quick enough, you could have those marks on you, and it can last for months, and you'll just be amazed at how long, because it's not a poison, but it's just whatever it is secretes and gets in your skin, and you'll have a reaction to it. It'll itch for a week or so, and then it'll get better, but you'll still see all the red dots and the redness from it and all. So, and I don't know if you ever watch the videos, but you always see that we're marked up pretty bad from stuff, because stuff happens. One of the hardest things with the choyas is you're walking along, and one of you do something, and they just kick up, and they catch your foot, and then they catch your pant leg, and then they just keep bouncing around catching the next thing, and next thing you know is you don't realize it's there, and then you're stupid, try to brush it off thinking, what the heck is that? And then you got it on your hand, and pain in the butt they are, but they are part of that. But that was my fault, you know. As soon as I got into it, I realized, oh crap, I'm in the middle of this, and it was bad. It was like it was probably one of the worst choya patches I've ever been in. So you bring in your guitar? I don't know. I usually do. I think I've brought my guitar every time. Sometimes I'll say I didn't. I'll still have it. So if you hear it Friday night, it could be, but it may not be. I know I had it last year, but sometimes it's just I just play it in camp or whatever when I have time. And then it also depends on the timing and stuff. Sometimes the discussions around the campfire are really good. And, you know, it is a pain too. And to honestly say, I got to get a chair that allows me to sit without arms, because what happens, you sit there with the guitar, the arms in the chair, you can't really sit there comfortably. You got to lean forward, and then your back's hurting, and it's a real pain. So you don't want the arms on the chairs, and you don't, you know, so. But I know the one time we played Friday and Saturday night, was me and Dave Ettinger. So always bring pliers when I take hikes, and yeah, and the fine stuff is good. Get a comb, not just tweezers, but a comb too. You can comb a lot of it out. Worst choy I ever got. That wasn't the worst. The worst choy I ever got, I was probably about 7 or 8 years old, 9 years old. And we went over to an old friend. He's passed away, Dave Mesmer. And we were at Dave's house, his dad's house, his parents' house. And we went swimming. I remember that. And they had like the railroad ties around their desert front lawn. And I was walking along the desert, you know, or on the railroad ties around the front yard, and, you know, being a kid, while they were talking before we left, and I stepped off of it into the yard, and my right foot came down into a patch of dead choya, and it went all through my foot. I was miserable. It took my my mom and dad probably 4 or 5 hours to get it all out. Once we got home, they left it in there till I got home. But that was one of the worst, because I do remember how painful that one was too. And they got home, they used a comb, then they had to use tweezers and stuff, and it was so hard to find some of the finer stuff, which I just recently had that. There was a cactus out back. I did the same thing. I have one right now in my thumb that's deeply embedded. There was a cactus, I don't know what type of cacti it was, but it had died and fallen over out back, and I went to pick it up and throw it in the trash, and when I did, it went to fall off the shovel because it was too big, too heavy. I should have broken it into 2 pieces, made 2 trips, and I reached out with my hand to try to balance it, not thinking, and it didn't really seem to have bigger spines, but what it had is those really fine, like hair-like ones, and I put it all through my hand, and I was out. I think I talked about this, but I was out in the garage forever in the sunshine pulling these little hair-like ones out. Took me pretty much the entire day off and on. I kept feeling one here and there, but there is one that's still in my thumb, deeply embedded. It's festered out. It feels like I can't really feel it anymore. But yeah, there's one I didn't get to, and I couldn't dig it out, and I just left it. Figured it'll just go away. So that's just part of that Arizona thing. It was kind of like I was reading an article by Tom Collenborn, and where he was talking when he was working at the Quarter Circle U and the scorpions in the sink, when he'd be washing vegetables and getting ready to cook and doing stuff and washing pots and pans, and the scorpions would be all over the sinks, and he used to get stung, and he said he got stung on the hand, but it was a pretty frequent thing getting stung by the scorpions back then. And those are very, very painful too. So, and I thought, wow, that would have really sucked to know you got to work. And he tried everything. He said he tried to get Tex Barkley to get a pesticide guy to come out and try to spray for those. Funny thing is, diatomaceous earth would have worked, but nobody ever, I don't think they used it back then for that. So it would have actually helped and straightened the whole thing out. But it was funny. And we had that incident filming. At one point, we were doing something, and we went to sit down, and I was standing there, and I looked at Magnuson, and he sat down, and there was these scorpions all over right beside him walking on this rock. And I had to tell him, you can get up, man. There was these scorpions. But yeah, he almost sat on them, but he sat right next to him, and he's lucky he didn't get stung. So that would have been really, really, really rough. No wraparound cords for you. What? No wraparound cords. Wraparound cords for, I don't know what that means. I don't know what wrap around cords. Okay. I don't know. So anyways, yeah, we should do a playlist. What should we play at the rendezvous? Your thumb. No, I can use the thumb. I don't care about the pain on it. Yeah, I got to push it really hard, I heard, but no, I don't care. I haven't quit playing. I've been playing the entire time. Didn't slow me down for even a minute. So thumb's been good on that. And if it hurts, oh well, that's the price. But yeah, we have to think of a playlist. Kumbaya. Oh Susanna. And yeah, that would be fun. Let's bring the Boy Scout songbook. I think I actually have one of those somewhere. And I wonder if it has chords in it. I have to check that out. Yeah, Tom Dooley. Does anybody know Tom Dooley? Hang Down Your Head. Pine Sap. Well, it's too late for that. And I don't know. I'll just grin and bear it. Little holes and things and scars and whatever. So, there. Great song. I don't know which song we're talking about there. Anyhow, so out of cacti and being pricked by things, and hopefully nobody will at the rendezvous. I am trying to get someone out 1 year to go through and kind of do a good landscape clean. Definitely, if not for the rendezvous, but always when we do the Tom Dooley, yeah, the Kingston Trio. I know I had a copy of that somewhere, but I know the song. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley. Hang down your head and cry. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley. Poor boy, you're gonna die. Anyhow, So we want to get it cleaned up definitely for Discovery Camp for the kids and stuff, because they don't always listen and they start to wander a little, and it kind of keeps keeping the brush cleared back and stuff. It's always better. We'll have to see, we had the rains and stuff, but we really went in, and I know the area where the cemetery was for the Dons going up the hill to gold panning. We had that cleared out really good last year, so we'll have to see if how that holds up and all. But yeah, I want to get someone in there with a chipper and stuff. Hey, dogs, how you guys doing? So, and that's a thing of just bringing in a crew or two that with chippers that will volunteer to do that kind of stuff. Plus, some of the buildings got new roofs and stuff, so I haven't seen all that. So I know there'll be some painting this winter. Oops, that was your head. Sorry, dog. That had to hurt. That was a big chunk. I wonder if dogs get headaches from banging their heads around. Are pets welcome? Yes, they are if they behave themselves. The Dons generally want them tied up or on leashes and stuff. I got yelled at it with my dogs, because my dogs generally, they're either going to herd your dogs or they're just going to sit around and wait for someone to drop food. But I don't think we've had any problems. I know there's a number of people who have brought pets and animals and stuff. And actually, even in the Don's functions, I got yelled at because Jax is really good off leash, but I don't think I ever had Jake on leash when we were there. And Jake just ran loose, and he was always good. But Jake didn't think he was a dog. See, there's some dogs that do not believe they're dogs. And by the way, Ed Riley, if you want to bring your pet hamsters or goldfish, they're welcome too. But yeah, he was a dog that did not believe he was a dog, so he didn't care about other dogs. So other dogs would come over to sniff him, and he'd just walk away from him like, what's your problem, dude? And Greg Davis didn't care for Jake, because Jake would sit there and just stare at Greg, and Greg didn't know why. And I got pictures of it. It's so funny, because he would sit around Clay and Greg, because they would eat and drop crumbs everywhere, so he'd wait for them to sit down and eat, and then he knew he could get food. So he wasn't stupid. But I don't think he was ever on a leash or a lead or anything. Jax was one time when I had the kids there, but most of the time he's pretty good and he behaves himself. The other two I don't know. So I don't know what they would do or how they would react, but yeah. So there you go. So if you want to bring your goldfish, if you want to bring your pet lizard, I don't know, that would seem strange to bring your lizard to the rendezvous, but yeah, go ahead. So, but there shouldn't be a problem. I know Kim Johnson brought his doggies, and there's a couple other people that do, and I've never, and Tom used to bring his. Tom got the most grief of anybody because Bucky would bark, but Bucky barked because I think he didn't like them, and maybe that's what it was. He didn't care for the people there or whatever. But everybody was cool with Bucky. I used to always bring biscuits for Bucky. So Bucky was out there, and he was always well behaved and well mannered and everything. Yeah, I don't remember ever a problem with anybody's dog. Never any fights or anything. So if your dog gets in a fight, we'll shoot it. There we go. Someone's gonna take me serious on that. Like Wayne's gonna shoot people's dogs. Oh, you're not gonna shoot my dog. Nope. So the only thing with the dogs is make sure and best thing for the reason for the leash and stuff, if your dog's not snake trained, because there are rattlesnakes and stuff in the area, and that will be difficult. The other thing, a lot of people who are kind of we've never had a scorpion sting that I know of at the rendezvous, but there are other people that like to bring the black lights and look around and find the scorpions and really freak out of seeing them and stuff. I did think about taking a bag of diatomaceous earth, because they're only about $25, so, and just spread it out in some of the areas we sit. But then again, there's always so much to do. I never thought about doing that beyond the thought of and saying, no, you can't call me because you're not paying attention to live. You should be watching me on live. And if you're not watching me on live, then guess what? I don't care. But no, everybody should know I'm doing live on Fridays. So there you go. And I won't say who it is. but he is about 6'5", and he has a shaved head, and he likes to talk a lot, and he's up in Prescott. Okay. Hey, has anyone checked out the giant skull on top of the flat side of a mountain with a cave on the front pile of quartz? Okay, that seems very vague. Has anyone checked out the giant skull on top of a flat side of a mountain with a cave that on the front of it has piles of quartz? I don't even know what you're referencing. Sounds like an Indiana Jones or Alan whatever Quartermain thing. I don't know. You'd have to give more information to that. Have you ever found a nugget or placer gold you feel comfortable talking about? Yeah, there's been plenty. In fact, one of the conversations Frank and I had yesterday was talking of actually seeing people pull gold out of the mountains, physically actually taking gold out of the mountains, that I can verify that it came out of the Superstitions, that I've witnessed some of the gold coming out, and in a profitable amount. The only two people I've ever met that have done that in the Superstitions are Woody and Frank. And I can verify that because I've been there, I've helped them, I've seen the gold, I've watched them weigh the gold, I know how much they got out, so I've seen the gold. It matches Superstition gold because it has a certain look to it because of the silver and gold quantities and so forth. But I've seen that gold, and I've been there to those sites and seen it come out of the ground. And I believe that was in the area of $15,000 to $20,000 worth. In fact, one day in 2 hours, I think they pulled, this is back, 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago. But one day, I believe they pulled out 6 ounces in 2 hours. So, and, but no, I was there and I actually witnessed it. We went out there one day when the one pocket was pretty played out, and still everybody got a few really nice sized $25, $30, $40 nuggets out of there. So no, I've witnessed that. We found it to be a problem. He's gonna keep calling. Do you happen to see that documentary on Victoria Peak? I don't know which one, the TV show documentary, because I kind of saw that a little bit, but then I have whatever that book is called, The Gold House. So I've got the Gold House, and because of the Gold House, I got so much information. Plus, I actually have documents from the Noss family, believe it or not, some actual photographs and documents from the Noss family, his stepdaughters. So because I have that material, the shows to me are a little skewed. I was watching it, it showed a lot of the military stuff and all that. Yeah, that gold lies in videotapes. Yeah, I watched it, but it was all stuff I pretty much knew to a large degree. And so I kind of was like, I taped it, I recorded it, and then I started watching it, and I found I wasn't following it too much, because if it was just something I already knew. And I was kind of like, okay, I've seen pictures, I've seen the videos, because there's a lot of the video and a lot of the film that's been presented and preserved and put out there. So I wasn't finding anything that was kind of like refreshing or new to me. So I was aware of it, and then I was waiting to see where they would go to with it. And no, it wasn't HBO. It was either A&E or Discovery did it, and I think it's still out there. But I remember seeing it, and like I said, I recorded it, and then I started watching the episodes, and I was like, okay, all the information, it's kind of information are geared toward an audience that has no idea about Victoria or Victoria Peak, whichever you want to call it. It's known as, it's supposed to be Victoria Peak, I believe, right? And then people have kind of turned it into Victoria over time. Anyhow, so because I never was into it, but then I ended up with a collection and material concerning it, and becoming far more well versed in it than I ever thought possible. And a lot of people who knew people involved, I just kind of like, you become kind of like, oh, well, that program's not for me. So I'm not saying it was good or bad. It just wasn't, it was more of an introductory show, I believe in it. Do you believe gold is there? I believe there was gold there. I believe there's still gold buried in and around the area too, because Doc Noss took it out. One of the things I had was, there's a lot said about Doc Noss, but there's a lot of things that are just kind of crazy because of the time period and stuff. He was part con man, but he was found something, and I do believe he buried this stuff. And I'm trying to think of what the guy's name was. Tony, God, what was his name? Last name, Tony. I can't remember his last name now. Anyways, he went and recovered a bunch of the gold. So some of the stuff that him, just before Doc was murdered, he helped Doc, and he thought Doc was going to kill him when they were moving some of the gold around. And he went back to the one spot. He went out and tried to look, and he found one of the spots where they buried some of the gold, and he recovered that gold. And he didn't talk about it till he was probably just about ready to die, because he didn't want to ever get in trouble for it. Remember, there's taxes and this and that and all the other issues in there. But no, he snuck out there and got some of that. And it was believed because I'm trying to remember, the guy that shot him was, he was supposed to make a deal with him, and Doc thought that guy was going to rip him off. So Doc had got this guy, Tony Joss. Is it Joss? I think it might be Tony Joss. Anyways, he got him to go out with him and help him move it all and rebury it and stuff. And Tony thought Doc was going to kill him because now he knew where this stuff was. And he said it was a little tricky there at the end. But not to worry, because the following day, once they got back, Tony Joss, he dropped him off. Jolly, Tony Jolly? That might be it. Anyways, once they got back, and he dropped him off, Doc went over and got into an argument with the guy. He thought he was going to rip him off after he moved it, and that guy realized something happened, and then that's when Doc got shot and all that. So, but yeah, we've talked, I think we did a video on it once to some degree, introductory wise, and I find it to be an interesting story. There's so much documentation, so many people, and there's so much, it's not even a conspiracy. There's so many people that were doing so much backstabbing. I looked at it as Doc Noss was paranoid, and they didn't help him. They just did everything possible to make that poor guy believe that they were out to get him, and they were. They simply were. And the government, nobody would work with the guy. That's what's incredible. Now, did the government give a lot of that stuff? I believe that's the truth. I believe the government got in there and got a lot of it, but I still believe Doc got a lot of stuff out, buried it, and then there's probably some stuff that's still out there somewhere buried along the highway. It might still be. I don't know if it's along the highway. He was buried it all just randomly in the desert. And then pick it up and rebury it again. Wasn't that one guy that disappeared out somewhere looking for that stuff too? There was some guy that disappeared and they never found him. I think that was another story on that. Anyways, I know a couple people that believe where some things are and where some of these caches of gold is and the general area, and we've talked about it and talked about a trip. I think Shoes would be up for it. Shoes was actually, Bob Shoes and Salvador were in New Mexico on a completely unrelated thing, and they were in Truth and Consequences, or one of the little towns there. I think it was Truth or Consequences. Anyways, they were stopped there for the night, and they found out when they went to go eat, there was a little town meeting, and it was about the Doc Noss thing and about people's rights to the treasure and stuff. And it was a public open meeting to all these people that knew about it and thought they had shares and stuff. So Sal and Bob went down and just sat there in the meeting and listened to them all. He said it was just pure coincidence they were there the night they were having that meeting, and him and Sal attended, and he said he listened in on that. But I don't think Bob ever got into that story very deeply either. I think there's just so much baggage along with it and so much going on. Plus it's, the military's involved, and there's just so many things. But I don't know of anybody that's ever been put in jail or prison, other than Doc did a little time. But technically, for trying to search out there and all the people that have been in and out of there, I don't know if anybody's ever been thrown in jail for it. So that's kind of an interesting aspect to all of it too as well. So what do you think the origins of the sword he supposedly found? I think he found stuff out there. I think he actually physically found stuff. I've seen, now remember, I have material that's original from the family, and I believe that he actually found stuff down in there. And I don't know what the stash was all about. I believe he found stuff in there. Did he find the amount that he claimed and all this and that? But I believe the Spanish armor that the one guy had, because he gave him that, I can't remember the guy, the Mexican guy, Salamanco, whatever his name was. Anyways, I believe that, and that stuff, that we have photographs of that. In fact, I thought Schutz he bought it off a guy in New Mexico, and I was wondering if he bought the Doc Noss armor off that guy. And it wasn't. I was able to compare it and see that it wasn't. But no, I mean, whose stash was it originally? Is that what you're saying? Oh, who knows? I mean, that's the thing. I've heard it's a World War II thing by the U.S. government. I've heard it was Victorio himself. All these different theories, different things, Aztecs. Who knows who was stashing the stuff in there? And who knows how open that place was at one time. And then they were trying to conceal it, and Doc just happened to be out there, and he was aware of it. He was poking around for a reason. And when Doc came upon it, you know, that upper shaft that he worked his way through, I mean, we would know a lot more if the guy, the engineer he brought in to do the blasting, actually wasn't a stupid idiot. And that guy basically created a huge problem, because Doc probably would have been out there pulling bits and pieces out for a long time to come. And I think all that ended once they choked that passageway up. Strawberry Mountain Lion Sanctuary, amazing wilderness. Do you think they needed anything else at the Indian paint mines of red dirt? Well, there's mines in the area. If you go across from them north of there, you'll find prospects and open pits and covered mines over there. So there are mines in that area that were active mines. Did they find anything? I've never done anything. That was something else Frank and I talked about. Is, you know, there's a lot of people that will make their claims about gold and this and that and talk about this stuff. We actually take samples. We take the samples and we test them, and we assay and we check and we look at what things are. Now, XRF will tell you, you can take an XRF gun with 4 different pieces of ore from 4 locations, and as you move the XRF, it's going to give you different readings, and you can get them possibly to match sometimes to some degree. We do the old-fashioned thing where you look at the piece of rock, you look at the matrix of it, you check on the matrix, you break it down, you look at the gold. We do that. We take stuff up. We took a whole ton of stuff, buckets of stuff up to Woody to test, and him and Mike McChesney ran it, and we've always done that. So we're always checking stuff and all. And there are people out there who will bring in stuff, and you check it before you bring in a big haul. The buckets of stuff was buckets of stuff from different places. We'll bag and tag it and then fill a bucket with that, and then you go through it. If you find something, then let us know which sample that was, and then we match it to where we were able to find it, and we go back in that area and check the area again. So we've always done that, checking out our samples and doing that. So like I said, recoverable gold, then you have to look at what it is. Let me catch this up. You think that anybody out the Indian paint? So the Indian paint mine, yeah, I'm sure people were digging out there. Cool Saltail, Victoria's a sad story. I'm trying to remember what I was just getting ready to talk about. One of the things Frank and I talked about is, see, Frank and Woody are retired. So if they go out to do something, it costs them the gas, food, whatever they do. So there's profitable. And obviously they did, 6 ounces in 2 or 3 hours. That's very profitable. But you have to say is when someone says, well, I got this spot, unless, okay, I've heard that 1,000 times. I've been out there 100 times on those that became nothing. Something in hand that we can actually test, we can sample, and don't go XRF, that we take, we crush, we're able to look at, see if there's any gold in it, start to get an idea of what type of mineralization is there, look at the whole thing, because let's understand this, if I'm taking time off from work, I'm losing that money. So everything I'm losing, I have to gain back. So someone recently was like, well, I could use you, I got this site and all this stuff, I'd like you to come out because we think we're working up to something. And I said, well, we'd be more than happy to, but it's like it has to be within these parameters to do. And I wasn't asking for any financing. And he said, what would it cost for your time to do this? And then I told him, well, it would be whatever I'm losing for work and expenses that day. And I told him, and he said, well, I can't afford that. And I said, well, you asked, is what would it take for me to say I'll take 3 or 4 days out of my work week because it's going to cost me to do that. So people take that and kind of pull it out of there. So when you see a guy in ratty clothes with a beat up old pickup and he's eating old ham sandwiches out of a cooler and stuff on the side of the road and he's hoping he's got enough gas to get back in town, you can't fly like that. You have to go out, take your tests, do your samples, do this, and do it in an inordinate amount of time. Schutz always says, if you break even on a gold mine, you're doing pretty good. And that is a real statement. So I always look at it in is not so much I got to make a profit, but I got to do what I got to do. So you can go to work every day for 10 years and make $1 million, or you can go spend all your time, you can just play lottery tickets every day and never win $1 million. So I'm not going to gamble on not working. I'm going to work. So it's, compensation. And generally in the television industry, they understand that and compensate me. So I take time and I say, okay, I'll go do that for 2-3 days. And they compensate me accordingly to do it. And then I do that and they give me money, bags of money. And I do that and then I come back to do it. But that was the same thing with Legends, is I had vacation time and I was able to work weekends at time and able to work through the laptop and stuff. So I was able to basically do television and make more money not doing television. So it was very profitable to me to do that. But yes, if you're going to go out and take your vacation time and do something and you're going to have that expense and all, that's fine. If you're going to spend your time doing that, your wife and kids may not be thrilled, but if you're going to lose time and income because of it, that's problematic. That's where you're starting to stumble and you're starting to go backwards. So you need to recover that. And Frank completely understands that. As there's times we talk about things, and Frank talked me out of a load mine someone wanted to sell, and I wanted to get me and Woody interested in it. And I wanted to set up an operation there. I wanted to do some sampling, and then I wanted to kind of do some work. He told me with what we would have to do for the insurance on it and everything else, the cost, and he said, we're not going to have anything recoverable instantly. So it's the time, money, and effort that we're all putting into it in the partnership. And Frank said, it's just going to be a money hole going back to Schuss's. If you break even, it's a good gold mine. And so I backed out of the deal and told the guy, no, I've been told that would not, if you're selling it or you're doing it at this price, it's not going to be profitable enough for us. So, and I was just looking at a good operation where we could go up and work. And I thought, I didn't like the idea of taking our show and turning it more into Gold Rush by us being up there working on it. But I thought that might be a kind of a fun idea for a while, or do something along that line of us spending time doing that and all in the operation. And again, when Frank pointed out, we looked at the financials and so forth, and what the cost to move and do equipment and time spent there, I realized I don't want to put that money into this for something that I can't assay that I'm going to recover. So that was that. So that's how that all works. Amazing wilderness. Do you think they mined anything else at the Indian Pent mines besides the red dirt? And I kind of addressed that. Yeah, so there are mines in the area. I've never assayed anything worthwhile off of it. Even one of the deeper tunnels that's up there on the north side that I went down in, that's about 25-30 feet through solid rock. I didn't even find a vein or any reason to dig that. So I've never found anything recoverable or anything. There is a red rock mine over by Choya Tank that shows traces of gold, but Shu said he did the last assays he did on it. It wasn't worth really messing with. I wanted to go out, and he told me exactly what I was going to find, and then I decided, well, and that was a mine that I thought was lost, and I got a lead on it. Terry Carter actually got me involved in that. We were able to relocate it. I was going to consider, like, me and Frank and Terry Carter for Terry Carter's video channel. We kind of do some sort of partnership with that once I located it, and Shoes told me, nah, he said, I've assayed it, and he just showed me and told me everything. So I decided we didn't need to get ourselves too involved in that. There's no reason to do something if there's no. Okay, so cool Southtail. Okay, we're still in there. So here we are, and we're at 5:01. It's almost dinner time, and we've had a good time. That went pretty well for something that, again, started off. Trevor's coming in. Trevor will work on the microphone this weekend. If he can't get this guaranteed to work, if this can't be guaranteed to work, why is it not? There it is. It's in scene. If he can't get this to work, I'm going to go with a new mic setup, because I just think it's ridiculous that I have a microphone but it did work. So that's what I don't understand, is why it worked live in one aspect and not in another. So that's going to drive me crazy. Anyhow, I want to get rolling because I want to eat, and it is Friday, and I'm tired, and it's been a long, hot week, and it's going to be an even hotter weekend, and I got plenty to do in it through the next couple of days. But thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you for all the disruptions and all the crap we've had to go through just trying to get the audio and stuff and the live streams working. We should have it back up here soon. It's not incompetence by myself, though I am an incompetent fool when it comes to technology. It's purely, there's some bug in this that has to do with YouTube, and that kind of ticks me off. So it should be simpler than that. And it should, this is just plug and play stuff. Pizza, I don't know. I haven't asked. Hope you have another spooky type of story to sleep for October. I kind of did them out last year of everything I thought I could. I'll have to go through and see. It'll have to be outside the superstitions if it is, and talk about some stuff like that maybe. And Frank's always encouraging me. He says, you need to get out of the superstitions once in a while. And I've done that in other areas, but I'm just not sure of the interest of all that. 100% real thing, piles of cords, the cave entrance. I'd seen it when helicopter flight through the mountains. Okay, well, we still don't know where you're talking about. Thank you. Interesting part about the superstition. Gold has a certain look. Superstition gold has a green hue to it. And maybe we'll get some in there. I don't know if the cameras will actually really pick it up, but when you're sitting there looking at it, I can tell. And there's certain pieces of ore people have shown me they said came from the superstitions, and I called them directly out on it because I know it, because it's just something about it. It has that greenish hue, and once you've seen it, you always recognize it. And I have gold out of the superstitions, and I recognize what it all looks like. Wherever I've gotten it from, north, east, south, west, and no matter where, it always has that look to it. So it seems to be just something to do with the superstitions. Fridays are pizza day. They used to be, and then they became diet days. Have a great weekend. Everybody else, I'll have and see you next Friday, unless there's something else. Mogollon Monster. I did the Mogollon Monster story up by Strawberry Pine when I was up there. Later, Gator, thanks for the chat. After a while, Crocodile. Hi, Trevor, Wayne, and everybody tonight. Yeah, we're leaving. He just got us at the tail end. And in fact, Trevor's not been here. He hasn't even come through the doorway. So I thought I heard. It could have been I was hearing things. It doesn't appear like there's anybody here. There's not even a dog. Everybody left me. So, if Trevor was here, he would have poked his head in just to kind of see how things are going. So we will try to get this all straightened back up and everything doing. If you didn't catch us live, you can always go back and see the replay after I close this thing out. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Like I said, I was not prepared for this at all today, because it was just kind of one of those things thrown at me of, oh, hey, I need you to do the live. I didn't set something up. And all week I'd been going, hey, make sure you set something up. Okay, I will. And so hopefully we'll do that, because intermittently you want to have something to talk about. I know we're coming closer to the Rendezvous, and I will do lives before we hit onto that. Obviously, the Friday of the Rendezvous, there won't be a live, because I got to have something set that day, because I will be at the Rendezvous. And I'll be buffering like crazy. Thank you. Have a nice weekend. Better late than never. Yep, that's true. So everybody have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe. If you're not in Arizona, go outside, run around and whatnot. If you're in Arizona, get inside, turn the AC down a little. One more weekend, it looks like, and then we're going to start to kind of get into the cool down a little for fall. So thank you, everybody. Until the next time, always remember this was Legends Live, and we'll catch you next week. Take care and have a good night. And I will figure out how this thing turns off. Okay, so I can't turn it off here. Ah, this is always funny. You would think this would be so simple. And no, that's not it. Must be this here. All right, so everybody, doing it on an iPhone from a computer, two different entire worlds. You can't go back and forth, man, because you can't remember where everything is. So everybody have a good weekend. I will catch you later. There we go.